All right, welcome to Tulsiology. My name is Dave, and I've got buyer's remorse already. I early voted for Trump. Tulsi was not on my ballot, obviously, and there wasn't a write-in spot for Tulsi Gabbard. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I could vote for Jorgensen. I didn't do it. Could vote for Howie Hawkins. I didn't do it. I felt as though I needed to keep Joe Biden from getting to the White House. That's it. That's my rationale. Trump better than Biden. That's it. Maybe you don't think so. I do. I mean, Biden is the worst candidate. Biden and Harris are the worst presidential candidates I've seen. I mean, Hillary with Tim Kaine wasn't much better than that. But Harris and Biden, it's a train wreck, and it shows that the Democratic Party is completely out of touch with blue collar voters, even though they have ads here in Florida saying that Biden at least understands what I'm going through. No, unless his childhood memories are really sharp right now in his brain, and my guess would be that he probably doesn't remember anything from his childhood. Whereas Tulsi Gabbard can tell you anything you want about any issue. All right. The Democratic Party destroyed Tulsi Gabbard, destroyed her. She owes them nothing. They owe her an apology because they misrepresented what she is. Google, during one of the debates where people were just searching for Tulsi's name, Google decided to unplug Tulsi's account, ad account, so she couldn't advertise, and then reinstated it after the the hoopla died down about Tulsi Gabbard. And I think Tulsi Gabbard won every debate she was in. I do. Even if she didn't get the floor as much time as, say, Elizabeth Warren, she won the debate every single time. When they got to her, she gave an explosive answer that had truth to it. She called out one of the most corrupt candidates to ever run for president, and that's Kamala Harris. And she won that battle. She destroyed Kamala Harris in that. And yet, who's the vice president to Joe Biden? Look, the Democrats could have selected Tulsi Gabbard, and I think they would have won easily, because people would have said, wow, Biden doesn't have much time left, and this Tulsi Gabbard, she's sharp. She would be a great role model for kids. She's not creepy. She's not gropey. She served in the military. She wasn't this corrupt lawyer from California who slept her way up the ladder. Just saying. It's part of the record. Look it up. So with Tulsi Gabbard, you knew what you were getting. And Tulsi looked at every person as important. All these commercials that Biden's he's trying to portray himself as, oh, I'll bring the country together. If he wins, God forbid, if he wins, the country is not going to be pulled together. The people who had TDS, those people will stop twitching. And will I be happy that they're not twitching anymore? I guess. Good. I'm glad you don't twitch anymore. Awesome. Your guy Biden here, we're going to launch a war probably the next day. The day after he gets inaugurated, he's going to be in the war room with a whole bunch of military people, and they're going to say, Joe, we need to ramp things back up in Iran, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. We need to, mobilize more troops there. We need to think about going to Venezuela and putting in America's puppet. We got work to do in Bolivia. And the list goes on. The list goes on. Oh, and you've got, China doing all these things. And that's provocative. Will we go after China? Probably not, because, our government is so in bed with the Chinese government, or they're basically in our bed. See, Tulsi Gabbard would have called that stuff out. She would have called it out. She would have used diplomacy, and she would have called it out. And she would have gotten the American people on her side. The American people care about their problems. Although the ad is disingenuous, the one that he's running here, Biden in Florida, with the married couple with the 2 kids, and the guy works at a factory, and the woman's a part-time school teacher, and she's got tattoos, and she looks kind of butch, and she's very like hardworking, hard scrabble, lower middle class, just trying to make ends meet. And she thinks that in the commercials, she thinks that Joe Biden understands her. I wouldn't, if Donald Trump ran that ad, I would say it's probably not a good ad for him to run. But Joe Biden running it, I think is just, it's despicable because it's not true. Tulsi Gabbard, she can understand those things. She can relate to those things. She can articulate. Whereas Joe Biden is just a puppet. He's just a sock puppet, and he's barely coherent. And I think it's elder abuse to put him out in the campaign trail. I just do. I don't. He's a figurehead, and then you're going to get Kamala, and Kamala is the biggest corporate sellout probably ever if she gets to the White House and she is the president of the United States. She's not ready for prime time. She's not ready for Mike Pence. So I can't see how she's ready to be the president of the United States. Tulsi Gabbard, I think if she were going up against Mike Pence, it would be very interesting because Mike Pence is very pro-war and Tulsi Gabbard is not. So there's a difference. Mike Pence and Kamala Harris are kind of on the same page when it comes to war. So there's really nothing to talk about other than what are these identity politics issues. It's just ridiculous how far we are away from what matters most to people. And we do it every election cycle. This one, by the way, because now you've got 2 campaigns because of this virus floating around. These 2 campaigns, Trump's having huge rallies. Biden's not even having any. So you don't hear like a stump speech over here and a stump speech over there. What you hear is a little meeting, and I think Biden put a lid on his entire campaign. I think he's done. He put a lid on himself, which is probably the only thing he could do. So again, Democrats, why? I guess he's better than Pete Buttigieg, maybe. Maybe that was the CIA candidate, and then you had, Amy Klobuchar. They had the Klobumentum for a little while. Elizabeth Warren, remember at the beginning, she was kind of a favorite. She wasn't going anywhere. Elizabeth Warren, Donald Trump would have ate her for dinner. Biden at least is somewhat likable if he's not gaffing and not groping. He's and I had this conversation with my friend Charles. I said, theoretically, I guess he's more likable than Hillary Clinton, but he's more creepy. So we had all of these horrible choices. Beto O'Rourke, horrible choices. And Tulsi Gabbard. You had this standout choice. And by the way, the Democrats and those progressives who reacted, oh, the right wingers like her. Oh, that's why we can't have her. Really? So you're so hell-bent on winning the game as Act Blue will do. You're so hell-bent with that strategy that you're willing to flush this candidate down the toilet because she doesn't kowtow to identity politics or these other things that you all care about, which, by the way, does zero to help average Americans other than to polarize us. Christians against atheists, blacks against whites and Hispanics. And I'm so tired of race. I'm sorry to say it. I'm tired of race. I'm tired of identity politics. It has been used to destroy goodwill between human beings. It's been used to perfection, almost like it was planned. Almost like the CIA just concocted the whole thing. The FBI, by the way, who doesn't seem to want to investigate felonies on the hard drives of computers because they're in the tank. That's bad. If the FBI and the CIA are agencies that are now so politicized, they're compromised if that's the case. Tulsi Gabbard would have called all of that stuff out. and she would have had the wind of the American people at her back on both sides, left, right, Republican, Democrat. Would have been a landslide, and it would have been the best thing to heal our country. But no matter what happens, me and my friend Charles, we talk about a brown wave. No matter what happens on election day, the country will be even further divided at the end of it all. If Trump wins, there's going to be tremendous backlash. If Biden wins, this country just spirals off into sort of a hapless mediocrity where there are platitudes, but there are no actions. And there are things that are done behind the scenes that have nothing to do with that working class family in the Biden ad who says, yeah, I think it's Joe Biden because he was in Scranton when he was a kid and his parents had to move in with their parents. And that's why he understands me. Joe Biden has been in politics for 47 years, lady. The only thing he really understands, I think, really well is how to get away with doing corrupt things for the most part. So anyway, buyer's remorse, voter's remorse. I mean, if you wrote Tulsi Gabbard's name in on a ballot somewhere, good for you. Good for you. I'm trying to protect the country from Biden, which, again, some people, good friends of this channel, have done videos saying that it doesn't matter who wins. Well, I think it matters. I think you can recover from Donald Trump in 4 years. I think Trump will do some things that you like, and he'll do some things that you don't like. Plus, if Trump wins, the Democrats are forced to work with him more in a second term. They did all of their crazy stuff in the first term. In the second term, maybe they'd work with him and maybe things would get done. But if Biden wins, he's not going to get any cooperation from anybody. Yeah. He might get some Jeb Bush Republicans that cooperate, like Mitt Romney. I don't know. It's a disaster, and it's more war, and it's more debt, and this inner cities are going to stay the same problems. Racial tensions aren't going to go away because Joe Biden's the president. The guy who authored the crime bill and said he didn't want his kids living in a racial jungle in the 70s. Okay. I don't know. I guess half the people in the country don't know anything. Like, they just haven't heard these things because the media doesn't talk about it. So in any event, it is Tulsi for the future. Let's hope she comes back. Hopefully she's going to stay close to politics because we need a Tulsi Gabbard in 2024. If we can get her in for 2022, that would have been great. Maybe they can replace Kamala Harris and bring in Tulsi Gabbard as the VP. I don't know how that works, but they're not going to. It's just a pipe dream. I mean, the Democrats' heads would explode if Tulsi Gabbard, got a position in the Biden administration. Maybe she will because she kept her mouth shut. Maybe she will. Maybe she'll get a position where she can do some good, but I'm not holding my breath. All right. See you soon.